It was cold in my room today, so I just had to get a sweater.
You have a nice view of Bedford from your house, though.
No comment.
Thank you, Chair. I can confirm that the meeting is now live and webcast.
Okay, thank you. So I guess we will call the meeting to order, and I'd like to acknowledge that the Halifax Regional Municipality is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The municipality acknowledges the peace and friendship treaties signed in this territory and recognizes that we are all treaty people. And I think we'll go through a roll call to make sure everyone's audio is working okay. Councillor Austin?
Thank you, Ms. Chair. I am here.
Awesome. Councillor Smith?
Here, ready to go.
And Vice Chair Councillor Cuttle?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, and welcome to Councillor Outfit.
Good morning. I'll look forward to working with you. You've been doing some interesting things. I've been checking up on you, and I'll try not to cause too many problems, but it's not a promise.
Oh, it wouldn't be you if there weren't little problems, a few little problems. Okay, approval of the minutes from January 20th, 2022.
I move.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Blackburn. Oh, my dear. Councillor Blackburn.
Oh, no,
welcome.
That's okay. I'm on the phone, so it's easy to miss. Good morning, everybody from power-free Beaverbank this morning.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Oh, my dear. You're right here on my list,
too. Oh, no worries.
Well, I'm so glad you can join us by phone. That's great. Okay, so approval of the minutes. So you moved, Councillor Blackburn. Who second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Awesome. All right. Approval of the order of business and approval of additions and deletions. Mr. Clerk, I think we have an addition.
Thank you, Chair. There has been a requested addition. This is item 15.1, Hotel Association of Nova Scotia proposal, tourism, marketing, and events leadership for HRM. The report for this matter has been circulated to all members using the agenda circulation calendar system invite. So I just pause to confirm that members have received a copy of the report. As an added item, this would require a 2/3 majority vote to add it to the agenda for discussion today.
Okay, thank you. So all in favor of the addition?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? No? Okay, I think we're able to go ahead. Business arising out of the minutes.
So I think we'll just need a motion to approve the order of business today. Sorry, I may have been responding to an email briefly.
I'll
Okay.
move acceptance of the order of business as amended.
Right. We voted without a motion. Got it. Okay, can someone second that, please?
Second.
Thank you. All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any against?
And I apologize again. There's a couple of moving pieces today. There is also a member of the public who is requested to speak as part of public participation. This also does relate to item 15.1, which was just approved. If there is comfort for the opportunity to move public participation up just to be considered prior to item 15, that might be appropriate just to give the member of the public the opportunity to provide comment before CPED discusses that item. That's up to councillors, of course, but just wanted to raise it as a possibility.
Madam Chair, I'm fine with that. That can be a friendly amendment to the order of business that we just approved.
All right. Do we need a seconder to that amendment?
I'll second it, Lisa.
Okay, all in favor? Any against? Okay, we have an amended agenda. Great. Okay, so moving on to number 4, is business arising out of the minutes? None. Call for declaration of conflict of interest? None. Motions of reconsideration? None. Motions of rescission? None. Consideration of deferred business? None. Notices of tabled matters? None. Correspondence, petitions, and delegations. Do we have any correspondence? Do we have correspondence for this meeting, Simon?
Thank you, Chair. There has been, other than the correspondence related to the presentation requests, no other correspondence submitted to community planning today.
All right, thank you. Petitions, members of council or clerk's office. Have we received any petitions?
Thank you, Chair. No petitions have received through the clerk's office.
Okay, thank you. Presentations. We have a presentation today from Nourish Nova Scotia. We have the Executive Director for Nourish Nova Scotia, Margot Reevy-Butt, and she will be presenting to us. Welcome, Margot. Is she here in the meeting, Simon?
Thank you. Yes, I believe so. And we are just promoting the speaker now. And my colleague will share her screen with the presentation slides for members of Standing Committee this morning.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Can people hear me okay? Beautiful. Am I ready to go then? Just waiting for the slide deck to get up. Can you see the slide deck and I can't? Is that what's going on, or okay?
I think we're just waiting a little moment. It does sometimes take a little bit longer to post that, but we'll let you know when that is posted. Thanks.
Well, I'll just say right off the bat, thank you for inviting me to speak today. I really appreciate your time and energy, and appreciate that a long day on Zoom has been hard on all of us. So. Maybe I'll just talk for a few minutes about Nourish while we're waiting for that to come up. So my name is Margot Reevy-Butt. I am a registered dietitian by trade and the executive director of Nourish Nova Scotia. I use the pronoun she, her. And we're located in Quebec, also called Bedford. We support food work from Unamagi to Gespapuchik, so really one end of the province to the other. You may know us best for our support of school breakfast programs across the province. 97% of public schools in this province actually offer a breakfast program. We also deliver a popular farm to school program called Nourish Your Roots, and we're involved in school food gardens and food literacy initiatives as well. However, today I'm actually here as a representative of the Nova Scotia Coalition for Healthy School Food. So Nourish is really the container that holds the coalition. However, it's the steering committee with support from the general membership and endorsers that drive the work for the coalition here in Nova Scotia. So that's just a little bit of a statement up on the screen there about some of the things that we aspire to do at Nourish Nova Scotia. Next slide, please. Just wanted to give you a little bit of a sense of the structure and the trickle down. So the National Coalition is actually housed under Food Secure Canada, just like the Nova Scotia Coalition has a home at Nourish. Nourish Nova Scotia has been an active member of the National Coalition since 2013. And more recently, last spring, we decided to organize a regional advisory group to give more strength and more momentum. In Nova Scotia, we have a steering committee structure, and then we have general members with representation from various sectors. And we have 40 community organizations that have signed on to the national coalitions as either members or endorsers from this province. Next slide, please. So the coalition, the national coalition, has 180 members in every province and territory. So those are big players like Heart and Stroke and Canadian Medical Association, and then smaller players in Nova Scotia like Ecology Action and Nourish Nova Scotia. We have a very strong academic collaboration. So our work is all based on evidence and research, which is really important. And the chapters across the country are really growing, and we're a nonpartisan organization. Next slide, please. Of pertinence to you folks, I suppose, is what's going on in HRM with the coalition. Well, we have Halifax Public Libraries, the Food Policy Alliance and Ecology Action Centre specifically in HRM, as well as 5 of the community health boards representing both urban and rural. Next slide, please. This is a messy one. I apologize. I was trying to think of on one slide, how can I show all the work that has been done since 2013, and it was virtually impossible, but I tried to hit the salient points here. You know, in the early going of the coalition 2013, we obviously came together. I think there's 21 members at that time. You know, we devised a strategy to try to get our MPs on side. We held events called the Great Big Crunch on the Hill, which were really fun. We developed a position paper using evidence and research that all of our members could have an agreement on. We met with ministers. The Federation of Canadian Municipalities came on board and provided a resolution to us in 2018. Senator Art Eggleton in motion 358 tabled school food programs in the Senate, and we had a petition in the House of Commons. But probably the most impactful thing that the coalition did was that in 2018, there was a cross-Canada roadshow, as it were, for budget consultations, and coalition members actually presented at 8 out of 10 of those budget consultations, and as a result, there was a commitment in the 2019 budget, which I have listed there. Unfortunately, there was no funding with that commitment, and then of course COVID hit and things were stalled for a little bit, but we didn't stop our work at the national level. And we were really pleased to see in December 2021 that mandate letters for 2 ministers actually named this commitment. So this is really where the rubber hits the road. Next slide, please. So what we do, the focus of our work goes beyond the advocacy. We really aim to strengthen understanding so that we can get others on side, just like HRM Council. We need to collaborate and have all stakeholders at the table in order to create the very best school food program, respecting the very diverse communities that are what I consider the strength of this province. Next slide, please. So the impacts of nourishing children. It goes without saying that there's a significant health impact that comes along with eating well in terms of chronic disease, but also in setting children up to have healthy eating habits that they'll carry throughout life. Kids come to school hungry for a variety of reasons, and it really impacts their ability to learn. And we know that well-nourished children have better health outcomes. School food programs also provide a sense of belonging, and we see that firsthand in breakfast programs now. And now more than ever, they do need to be connected. And finally, programs have a positive effect on families, in particular women who traditionally have invested a significant amount of time in preparing food for school. Next slide, please. A negative food environment is an everyday reality, with 25% of all food that a child eats coming from ultra-processed sources in a diet that's already low in vegetables and fruit. And then we consider the influence of the multitude of media that children are exposed to every day. And that influence impacts their eating habits and their choices. And so it's not a wonder that we've seen obesity rates triple in the last 3 decades. Next slide, please. In terms of food insecurity, these statistics are probably not new to you, but the good news is that school food programs are uniquely positioned to deal with issues of both ill health and inequity. It's really important to know that school food programs do not directly address the economic causes of food insecurity, but they can reduce the pressure on the family budget by covering the cost of meals at schools, which for many families is a lifeline. Next slide, please. So we've talked about some of these things, but I'll highlight, in addition to improved health and education outcomes, there is an opportunity with school food programs in terms of local food and the economy. Next slide, please. As an economic driver, geographic equity is imperative. So schools are conveniently located where people live, providing investment equity and job creations associated with school food programs in rural and urban areas. So essentially everybody benefits. So I put a few things on this slide, but there's a lot of potential for what school food programs can do in terms of being an economic driver. And the return on investment is significant. Next slide, please. So you might ask, why endorse the coalition? I think we have a lot in common, and there's alignment with our mandates. I provided in your package how school food programs support the Sustainable Development Goals, and they can also support the Sustainable Development Goals in Halifax. It also supports the Council's priority outcome areas like prosperous Halifax and creating safe, affordable, and inclusive communities. And it aligns with the principles and food system goals of Just Food Halifax, which the municipality is co-leading with the Halifax Food Policy Alliance. And the Just Food team, through their consultations, have heard repeatedly that universal school food programs have been a prominent theme in all engagements. Next slide, please. So why would HRM endorse the coalition? Well, you would add strength to the national movement. You would join other municipalities in this recognition, you know, like Toronto and Vancouver. And as the largest city in Atlantic Canada, it's important. And there's really no downsides to growing healthy kids. Next slide, please. So specifically, how can HRM support? Well, you can formally endorse the coalition like other cities have. You can help us advocate to the provincial government in order to receive those funds. You know, there is some jurisdictional challenges. There's a lot of different things going on that the province will need to sort out, but it's very doable. And if you want a light, fun touch, I've included in your packages today how you can join thousands of crunchers across the nation in the Great Big Crunch, just like the events that we've done on Parliament Hill in the past, and you have your package. And then continue your stakeholder engagement in HRM as part of the broader provincial consultation going on with Just Food. Next slide, please. There we go. I'm done. I'm open for questions.
Thank you so much. That was excellent. Excellent presentation. Do we have any questions or clarifications? Yeah, Councillor.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. And obviously, in the past, I've done work when I was with Nova Knowledge on how health and eating and determinants of health is all tied in with income and education and diet. And I also have the misfortune of doing a lot of the grocery shopping in my family. So I know what it's like, particularly when our vegetarian daughters are home, how expensive it is, where you can have hundreds of dollars in a couple of bags coming out the door of a grocery store. So I assume that things have gotten worse, if you will, because of the inflation, if you will, of at the grocery stores, but particularly of the fruits and vegetables and dairy and meat. You know, when you go to the food banks and you see what people are donating, which is wonderful. You see a lot of canned goods, you see a lot of packaged goods, you see a lot of non-perishables, which I'm sure concern you as a nutritionist about the nutrition value. So can you tell me just a little bit? I mean, I see you want an endorsement, which makes sense. Sort of at the tangible, tactical level, if this continues to happen, endorsements and some lobbying of the province, what do you actually envision happening here in HRM in Nova Scotia? Do you envision more school lunch programs with better food in regions that are economically challenged or whatnot? Just sort of tell me your vision. If we were to endorse this and everything were to go well, how would Nova Scotia look a year from now, sort of?
Well, thank you for the question. And you're not lying about being in the grocery store a lot, because I see you there. I'm a resident of Bedford as well.
Are you?
I drive through the Superstore parking lot from my office to get home, and
All right. So you see me running. You see me running. Yeah.
I have. So that's a great question. And I did include in your package the principles of the coalition, which is a brief of the position paper. So those principles really lay out our vision nationally for a school food program. So really that they are health promoting, and the food is based on Canada's Food Guide. You know, they're diverse and culturally respectful, that Indigenous communities have control over their programs, that there is monitoring in place so we know things are going great. But overall, you know, I do anticipate the money will be coming from the federal government soon. And I really want our education system here in Nova Scotia to be ready to accept that funding. And so, you know, it'll look different in different jurisdictions, and it's not a cookie cutter approach, which is why these things can be messy. But some schools do want a lunch program. Some may want to build a snack program onto their breakfast program. But these programs cannot be like the breakfast programs, because breakfast programs are volunteer run and volunteer driven. And you cannot put another program in a school that is food related that is volunteer driven. So, you know, cafeteria staff need good training. They need proper fair wages. They need to be able to have the training to be able to cook from scratch meals using vegetables and fruit and whole foods. And we've done a ton of work on that, and there's lots of resources available, and there's models already in Nova Scotia that are doing beautiful things that we can build on. So the vision is really to build on what we're already doing that's really well done, and looking to follow the framework that will be set by you know, the federal government, hopefully in consultation with partners at the table who know what they're doing. I hope that answers your question.
It does, and thank you. I certainly wish you well, certainly have your support, and we'll see you at the Superstore.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cuddle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you so much for that presentation. That was great. And, you know, this is really, really like exciting, but also long overdue, right? Like coming to our schools and to our culture. You know, I remember watching years ago, I think there was a couple of documentaries about school food. I think one by Jamie Oliver and another by Mike Moore, right? Where they went into France and they looked at what the kids ate in France and their school lunch programs. And then they showed, you know, here in North America, what most meals were being served in our schools and even in our hospitals, you know, where people go to get healthy, and there's, you know, just food with high sugar and high fat, and it's not promoting health. And you know, so I'm very supportive of this, and you know, I am excited to know that Nourish Nova Scotia is working behind the scenes to push and to bring this forward, and would love to see you know, school food programs throughout Nova Scotia. And I think, you know, a key point that you discussed was that it's not a cookie cutter approach, right? Because we know that different communities have different challenges. And you know, when I think about Spryfield here, you know, at one point, you know, 50% of high school, 50% of kids weren't graduating from high school along the Herring Cove Road. You know, the 500 block there, like 50% weren't even graduating from school. And, you know, that led to the Pathways program being founded here, and which is an amazing, you know, program. And so I do see the need for food. I do see the need to address kind of the inequalities that exist between different communities. And I would, you know, fully support in endorsing this. I see Councillor Austin put in here that he has a motion. I was going to bring forward a motion too, that we recommend that Regional Council formally endorse the CHSF in advocating for a Canada-wide universal healthy school food program. Sam, was that what you were going to do too?
Yes, sorry, Ms. Chair, if Councillor Cuddle wants to put it forward, I would happily second.
All right, well then I'm putting that forward.
All right, and Councillor Austin, you're seconding?
Second.
Excellent, okay. Any comments or questions on that motion?
Call for the question.
Okay, all in favor?
I'd like to speak on it.
Aye.
Just briefly.
Well,
Chair.
yes, of course. Okay, Councillor Austin, go ahead.
Sorry, I wasn't quick enough on the typing. I mean, I know, like, I'd run this by staff in advance as well. That kind of tricky place of, like, you need that professional CEO advice on a motion, but I mean, this is school lunches for kids, so I think we can. I personally think we can forward this on to regional council for council to then consider endorsing. Right, this is something other municipalities are doing. So, very much think this is good. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, anyone else?
I'll still call for the question.
Okay, try this again. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, excellent. All right, so thank you so much. That was excellent. And now we have a motion to go before council to help endorse. Excellent.
Thank you all so much for your time and your interest, and you've made my day. So I wish you a good rest of your day, and thank you so much for your time.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you for all your hard work.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Well, what a great way to start a meeting. That's excellent. Now we are moving along to information items brought forward, which I see we have none. And we are moving on to our reports. And we have item number 12.1.1, People, Planet, Prosperity, Halifax's Inclusive Economic Strategy for 2022 to 27. And we have a presentation here again this morning. We have our very own CAO, Jacques Dubé, and Wendy Luther is here as well, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Halifax Partnership. Welcome. Hi, Wendy.
Hello, Madam Chair and councillors and Mayor. Delighted to be here with you today.
Okay, take it away.
We have a presentation for you, and as the clerk's office is loading that, I'm going to pass the floor to Corey Bell to begin. Over to you, Corey.
All right, I just got to get my video going. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for that. It was actually enjoyable listening to what Margot had to say. So good to see that. So I am Corey Bell, and for the past year, I've had the pleasure of chairing Halifax Partnership's Economic Strategy Advisory Committee of the board. Our committee and our entire board have been impressed by the expertise, commitment shown by the Halifax Partnership's team under Wendy's leadership, and by the deep collaboration with HRM staff of experts led by CAO Jacques Dubé. We believe this economic growth strategy will build a more inclusive, sustainable, resilient, and prosperous Halifax over the next 5 years and well beyond. On February 2nd, Halifax Partnership Board of Directors unanimously endorsed People, Planet, Prosperity, Halifax Inclusive Economic Strategy for 2022 to 2027 for submission today to this Committee of Regional Council. I'm looking forward to today's discussion, and I'll now pass the floor on to CAO Jacques Dubé. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Corey, and thank you again for your leadership at the partnership and throughout this particular process. Certainly, Madam Chair, HRM and the partnership work in lockstep to create and implement and report on the municipality's economic strategy. Slide 2, please. So we were planning on implementing a new economic strategy last year, but 2 years ago the pandemic hit, and so we pivoted. And to meet the immediate needs of business and residents, we developed the COVID-19 Economic Response and Recovery Plan that was endorsed by Regional Council in May of 2020. So since that time, Wendy and I have provided 6 updates to Regional Council and our joint work since then. Early last year, Regional Council authorized me to develop a new 5-year economic strategy with the partnership. And since then, Corey, Wendy, and I have been working with the partnership, the advisory committee, HRM staff to develop the plan. And we've been engaging with the mayor and councillors, business leaders, residents, and communities throughout the process, and are pleased to present you today with People, Planet, and Prosperity, Halifax's inclusive economic strategy for 2022-27. Over to you, Wendy, to speak to slide 3.
Thank you so much, Jacques. This strategy has been informed by conversations with and written submissions from more than 2,500 business leaders and residents throughout the municipality. What we have learned from these conversations is embedded throughout the strategy, with a focus on ensuring all Halifax residents can contribute to and benefit from Halifax's growing economic prosperity. That we need to continue to support businesses and communities rebound from the pandemic's ongoing effects, and that we have untapped economic potential in rural HRM. At the same time, we need to tackle growing pains, so ensuring our residents have access to a range of affordable housing options is critical for current and future inclusive economic growth. And finally, leveraging Halifax will create new opportunities that drive growth and strengthen our competitive advantage. Next slide, please, and back to you, Jacques.
Thank you very much, Wendy. So this slide, Madam Chair, outlines our economic strategy framework. This is the new plan, which is about growth, but certainly not growth for growth's sake. Our long-term vision is to build a prosperous, growing HRM that puts the well-being of people and planet first. We have extended our quantitative goals to 2037 to grow GDP to $32 billion and to grow our population to 650,000. These are ambitious targets, targets that require sustained year-over-year growth, and we as a community, all orders of government, the private sector, post-secondary institutions, and organizations in all sectors and industries will need to be at the top of our game to attract, keep, and grow business and talent in Halifax. HRM's value proposition is built on the foundation of our ocean advantage, our commitment to climate action, our educated and innovative residents, businesses, and institutions in our unique urban, suburban, and rural lifestyle. We are focusing on 3 5-year strategic goals to achieve our vision. Next slide, please. In terms of those goals and objectives, promote and maximize inclusive and sustainable growth. This strategic goal focuses on attracting and keeping business in our city, in our regions, rural, suburban, improving the ease of doing business, and fostering opportunities for diverse business owners. Measure for this goal within the 5-year period of this strategy is to grow GDP to $25 billion by 2027. Under this pillar, HRM and the partnership will report on 40 actions to be undertaken in the next 2 years. These actions are specific and far-ranging from launching business and consumer confidence campaigns in light of the pandemic, advancing the Cogswell and Windsor Street Exchange projects, implementing commercial taxation reforms, growing Indigenous and African Nova Scotian prosperity by advancing key components of the Road to Economic Prosperity Action Plan, hosting the North American Indigenous Games, and seeking to work with our partners in all orders of government and in our Mi'kmaq communities in relation to the reimagined Mi'kmaq Native Friendship Center. Continuing the partnership's smart business and retention and expansion program, investment attraction efforts, often with the mayor as our chief salesperson and marketer, and of course, providing actionable research like the Halifax Index. Creating full-time resources dedicated to economic development and tourism in rural HRM, and helping startups through the Halifax Innovation Outpost. Actions to help grow housing supply in Halifax also fall under this pillar. These actions were developed with the input of an attainable housing working group that was co-chaired by Corey Bell, and that included construction and development stakeholders, as well as the Halifax Partnership and HRM staff. I'll now pass the floor to Wendy to walk us through the next 2 goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacques. The Attract, Retain, and Develop Talent goal encompasses all of our labor-related work in attracting talent, welcoming immigrants, and combating systemic barriers to employment. With current talent shortages coming to the fore as significantly impacting business growth, implementing the 11 actions under this goal is particularly urgent and will require a concerted collaborative effort from governments, private sector, and post-secondary institutions. The measure for this goal within the 5-year period of the strategy is to grow our population to 525,000 and grow our labor force to 310,000. Next slide, please. The Make Halifax a Better Place to Live and Work goal includes 20 initiatives focused on climate action, placemaking, transportation, and strengthening our downtowns, main streets, and rural centers into dynamic hubs, all key ingredients to increasing residents' quality of life and well-being. The success of this goal will be measured through a subjective well-being survey. Subjective well-being, a new measure in our city and province, is gaining traction worldwide as a powerful tool to measure quality of life and inform policy and programming. We will be developing a baseline measure in year one and are working with partners including Develop Nova Scotia, Engage Nova Scotia, United Way Halifax, and Davis Pier to inform our approach. Next slide, please. With your guidance, we look forward to presenting People, Planet, Prosperity, Halifax's Inclusive Economic Strategy 2022 to 2027 to Regional Council for approval in March. Following Mayor and Council's approval, we will launch the economic strategy publicly and honor the many contributors to this work. Subject to approval from Regional Council, we aim to begin implementing the actions included in the strategy on April 1st, 2022, and we'll be incorporating these actions and associated metrics in HRM and Halifax Partnership's annual business plans. Of course, implementing a strategy of this magnitude also requires the collaboration, partnership, and leadership of the private sector, diverse communities, and 3 orders of government. To ensure we are keeping on track and at pace in delivering on People, Planet, Prosperity, we will report our progress at every Halifax Partnership Board of Directors meeting, regularly update CPED and Regional Council, and report to community through the annual Halifax Index. We are excited about what this inclusive strategy, People, Planet, Prosperity, means to the future of our city, and we look forward to continued collaboration and input from CPED and Regional Council as we bring this strategy to life. And next slide, please, and back to you, Jacques.
Well, thank you very much, Wendy, and thank you for your leadership and the great collaboration as our organizations work together, not only in developing this new economic strategy, but also in responding to the needs of businesses and residents since the pandemic began almost 2 years ago. COVID-19, Madam Chair, revealed the extent to which complex problems require strategy and action. And now, People, Planet, Prosperity will help us transition post-pandemic and grow Halifax for the benefit of all. Back to you, Wendy.
Thank you, Jacques. Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and members of CPED, thank you for your collaboration in developing People, Planet, Prosperity. We look forward to working with you as we strive to meet the goals outlined in this economic strategy to build a more inclusive, more environmentally sustainable, and more prosperous Halifax. Thank you for your kind attention, and we look forward to your questions and comments.
Thank you so much. So will we take questions of clarification now, or do we put the motion on the floor? Questions, comments, and questions. Okay, Councillor Cuttle.
Would you like me to put the motion on the floor?
Sure, yeah, thank you.
No, I've just lost it here. Hold on. Too many windows open. There you go. I move that the Community Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee recommend that Regional Council, 1, adopt People, Planet, Prosperity, Halifax's Inclusive Economic Strategy 2022 to 27 as Halifax's new 5-year economic strategy, and 2, amend the services agreement with the Halifax Partnership to reflect the new economic strategy actions as identified in the final 6 pages of Attachment A of the February 7th, 2022 report.
Second, Tim.
Thank you, Councillor Thitt. All right, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Cuttle.
Thank you. Like this is like making my heart sing, actually. This is an amazing direction. The words, the language, the goals, everything about this. I think, hitting the mark of what we need now. And, just a few of the things that I want to highlight in here is one, kind of recognizing that we're an urban, suburban, and rural municipality, and that we really need to figure out how those three things work together, complement each other, build on each other, and help us develop a really unique value proposition for what Halifax is about. Strengthening, you say strengthening the dynamism of our downtowns, main streets, and rural centers. Like that is what we're talking about a lot at regional council right now. To see this reflected in our economic strategy, I think is bang on, as is the need to work with all levels of government, the private sector, and our community partners. So important. I guess what I'm curious about is this is as a 5-year strategy. It's like, okay, how do we get down to the nuts and bolts of realizing this? Because 5 years isn't a long time. And while we have this economic strategy, we're also working on a regional plan review, trying to figure out a regional transit system, trying to do, a rural recreation strategy. And again, it's like, how do we get the synergy of all these things pulling together in the same direction? So, when we talk about holistic planning in urban, suburban, and rural, like, how are we going to do that? And also, with the whole piece around the services agreement, how will the change in the service agreement help empower us to fully realize the potential of this economic strategy? Like, what is it in the service agreement that's going to aid and assist in this strategy?
Madam Chair, to the members of CPED, if I can start off, and then Jacques may also want to contribute. Thank you very much, Councillor Cuttle, for your comments and your questions. So very specifically on bringing this plan to life, as with the last economic strategies, the economic strategy finds its way into Halifax Partnership's annual business plan. And so all of our work and all of our reporting to our board and other stakeholders link directly back to the actions that outline that you see here. And so we'd be seeing ideally a similar update of the service level agreement plan to make sure that the language in that is speaking to where we are today and where we need to focus. We're also convening the Halifax Partnership Board of Directors, and we have Councillor Mason, Councillor Russell, and Mayor Savage and CEO Jacques Dubé represented on our board. They're convening in April for a strategic planning session so that we have a roadmap for action, both for ourselves and incorporated into HRM's business plan over the next 3 years. But all of the projects that we pursue, additional funding from outside sources, all feed up into bringing this plan to life. And it's thanks to the members of CPED for earlier comments when Jacques and I have presented over the past year about the importance of integration with other plans. And you will see, and thank you very much to Vice Chair Councillor Cuttle, in the back of the plan, a grid that highlights the intersectionality between various HRM plans and the economic plan. So we'll be using that as a guide to ensure that that we're collaborating with and working in lockstep with those HRM leads on the various other plans. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Wendy. This is a tremendous amount of work and thought and strategy that I see reflected in this document, and I just want to thank you and your team and everyone else involved who's help bring this to the point it is now. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Councillor Eifert.
Thank you. And Wendy, Jacques, and Corey, thank you for the presentation. And I do share Patty's enthusiasm for this. It'll be no surprise to you, Wendy, that I'm so happy that more of our growth and more of our job creation is what I would call the knowledge and creative economy. I can't give up on that yet. It's ingrained in me. And I'm very happy to see that. And every day represented in an area that has seen and will see a lot of growth. Every day I defend how growth is good for us. and hope that my one daughter will be able to come back here. Hope one daughter will be able to stay here, although she is in Vancouver. So, and I know Vancouver's near and dear to you, Wendy. But, and I've lived in Vancouver and Toronto, and I have seen results of growth, good and bad, and immigration, good and bad, largely good. But so very happy with what I'm seeing, happy to support it. A couple of things I want to mention, because I made some notes here earlier, and I said, tax competitiveness is a concern for me. If we want people to move here to retire, if we want people to move here to work, if we want people to start businesses here. So we are going to have to be careful about that. Housing affordability is going to be a concern, particularly recent grads, if we want them to stay here. We know when they first graduate that they're not going to make as much money as hopefully they will later in their career. So housing is going to be an issue. And I know that we're trying to build faster. We're trying to do affordable housing, inclusionary zoning, partnering with other levels of government, etc. It kind of makes me chuckle a bit, though, and I think you can relate to this, Wendy, when we just increase the supply and everything's going to be fine. Well, in that case, Vancouver and Toronto should be very, very inexpensive to live in, because they build like crazy. Well, guess what? With a daughter living there now in a shoebox that costs $700,000, I can tell you that even though they're building like crazy out there, the costs haven't come down. So we are going to have to maintain, I think, a many-pronged approach to trying to keep housing affordability. Again, representing an area with so much growth. And I'm very intrigued with this well-being lens that you're going to put on things. I think that's exactly right, because to me, when people move here, they know it's safe, they know it's friendly, they know it's clean, they know we're minutes away from beaches and country, and in fact, our municipality has high rises and cow pastures. That's somewhat unique to us. But I do hear from people that they when they come here, they save money on the house and they feel friendly and welcome, but again, and not enough for the kids to do, spending just as long in traffic as they did, and of course taxes are higher, residential taxes particularly. So we have to, on this well-being lens, in my opinion, Wendy, make sure that we don't lose track of why we are rated so highly and why people want to come here. If they wanted to sit in traffic all day, if they wanted high prices, if they wanted, et cetera, they could stay in Toronto or Vancouver or Calgary or Edmonton, et cetera. I'm being a little facetious, but you know what I mean. And we have to make sure that what you market, remains here. And there is stuff for the kids to do. And I'm really worried about our taxation. Not that so much people won't come to us, but they will build their business or they'll build their home in Kings County, Colchester County, or Hants East, just outside our borders, and then want to come down into town for all the amenities and services. So we have to be very careful that we stay competitive financially, as well as things to do. Really thrilled about the comments on the hubs and the downtown and all these sorts of things. I still think we need some, and I don't know if this is within your bailiwick or not, we have a saying now that development or growth is paying for the growth. It is and it isn't. It's paying for the basic infrastructure. It's not paying for all the amenities and the other things we need. So we have to be careful about that and learn from that, and perhaps to see what CCCs and development fees and other things have done in other cities that are experiencing our growth. Glad we're growing in the right way. Glad that of this more holistic look you're taking, if you will, about quality of life and well-being, as well as financial and demographic and population. But just if you want to comment on any of those, and maybe a little bit more overview on how you think the well-being lens on this might help the concerns that I have, representing what I'm hearing from in a growing area. So thanks, Wendy.
Thank you very much, Councillor Oathead, via Madam Chair to Councillor Oathead and members of CPED. But we're in such a different place today than we were when the last economic strategy was being developed in 2015. We had, when you look through the full document, you'll see some of the statistics back from that time. We were almost flatlined on population, if not shrinking. We were rapidly losing young people. And the last economic strategy was very much about growth as we were facing this demographic cliff. And Now, we're not out of the woods yet, but what a different road we've had for many reasons, including immigration policy, including just general global shifts to more mid-sized cities, as well as including the pandemic, because we have had our largest year of population, singular year of population growth in HRM, over 11,000 persons, came within the band of the first year of the pandemic. So now that we are growing and people attract people, and we will continue to grow at pace, you know, what is really important to us? And Councillor, to me, your words, it's about the essence. What is the essence of being here? What is our culture, our community, our geography? And it's been irresistible to people. It's been irresistible to almost 20,000 people since the onset of COVID. But we could lose sight of that essence and we would keep growing, but it wouldn't mean that we were better off as a population for our existing population or for those coming. So, you know, we really, I would say we're in this privileged place. It is Halifax's time now that we have all the right ingredients to set ourselves up for success, so that in 2027 and beyond, we can look back on this time and be wildly proud of the direction that we took to make sure that we brought more people along. And absolutely heartened to see our colleagues at United Way Halifax, for which we have a partnership, our colleagues at the province of Nova Scotia, that are also looking very closely at these well-being measures to make sure that we're thinking and planning with the right intention in mind, which is really, why do we do economic development? Is to increase the well-being and quality of life of all of our residents. So how are we baking that right into the plan? And that's really our guiding principle on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Mr. Mayor.
Hey. All right. It's nice to be here. Thank you, Madam Chair, very much. And thank you to Wendy de Jacques and to Corey Bell, who must be the hardest working guy in show business these days. He's doing a ton of stuff. And, you know, people need to understand that the great leadership that Wendy's given to the partnership, but also a lot of the work is done by volunteers who are doing other things for a living, but step in, you know, the Rob Carruthers and Ron L'Esperance and people like that. So really want to thank all those folks. And Corey, it's good to see you. I wish the Habs were doing better, but you never know. Wendy made a point that I just wanted to focus on, which is when we came with the economic plan, the last economic plan, I remember folks from the partnership came to see me and said, look, this is what we're going to come up with. This is where we're headed. Do you think it's too aggressive? And I said, I think it's aggressive, but I don't think it's too aggressive. I mean, you have to understand, as Wendy said, where we didn't really have any kind of concentrated innovation hub in Halifax at all. Things were starting and there were major investments, but you know, at the time, I think Volta was still on Spring Garden Road in a little tiny room. They hadn't come down to Barrington Street. And so it was an aggressive plan. There was always elements of inclusion and environmental stewardship to the work that we did, but it certainly wasn't as strong of a focus as it is now. We always wanted everybody to do well, but we just did not. We were building from what I would say was a low ebb in the city in terms of growth. And you know, the plan did a lot of really important work. Matt Hebb, Way Mason, and those who came up with that plan. And it was specific, so it was targeted, you know, and it not only said, you know, this is where we want to go and this is what we want to do, but this is how we're going to get there. These are the initiatives we're going to have. And in many ways, it's the model this time. I would also just point out that, you know, we didn't use consultants to build this plan. It was the partnership and the volunteers who put this together, and Jacques and Jake Whalen and all the folks on our side as well. And the partnership, the Halifax partnership, people may not understand just how much of a whole of community point of view it takes to economic growth.
It's always been focused on all of HRM, not just on the core of Halifax. It has always looked at inclusion and sustainability as goals. And when you look at the title of this, People, Planet, Prosperity, that planet piece is really important. You know, when we were doing work last year during COVID, when the partnership sprang into action, we had a number of task force groups, mayors roundtables, and one was on green, one was on transit, and one was on inclusive economy. So the interlocking of these things is so important, because you don't lose economic growth because you focus on sustainability. You don't lose economic growth because you believe in inclusion. It all works together. And the companies that I've talked to in the last 2 years, along with Wendy and others who are thinking of coming here or have come here, they believe in those values as well. So we're hitting the right notes, not only because it's the right thing to do, but because it's economically the right thing to do as well. And now you look at where we are, you look at this plan, you look at the work we're doing with the African Nova Scotian Road to Economic Prosperity, it all pulls in together. And, you know, there are a few people who still occasionally say to me, you know, Mayor, I see the growth and it's good, but, you know, I liked Halifax, you know, the way it was. Great quality of life. Well, we still have a great quality of life, but now people have jobs as well. And you have to put the two of them together. Young people are coming here in record numbers. Yes, there's challenges, but they're outlined in the plan. We have to find ways to make sure that we house people all across the housing spectrum. And we have to make sure that we're a welcoming and compassionate community. But those are all things that we can do. We have to focus on them, and we have to work with other orders of government, but we're going to get there. This plan is something, I mean, I will go around the world with Halifax in one hand and the economic plan in the other. And underneath those things, I'll have a whole host of initiatives that we're doing. But this is the roadmap to the kind of city and the kind of community that we want to be in a great province, in a great country. And I think that this plan is the roadmap. And I appreciate everybody who did work on it, and certainly encourage folks to support it and get behind it, understand it, read it, digest it, ask about it, and let's follow it. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. We have a speaker from the phone, Councillor Blackburn.
Hi there. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you so much, Wendy, Corey, Jacques. You can't see me, but I'm waving and giving two big thumbs up. This is amazing. It's, you know, it's so aligned with our council strategic plan. It ticks a lot of boxes, and you know, the first thought when I hear this presentation is, wow, you get us, you really get us. So I just have a quick question. I'm just wondering about, you know, what plans are in place or strategy do we have for communicating our growth goals to the province? Because, you know, the province will be responsible for providing a lot of services to this influx of growth, and I'm a little nervous that they're not ready. You know, I know that I've got several schools in my district that are overcrowded to the point where they're double the student population, double what the schools were designed for. And you know, we're not seeing a lot of movement from the province on fixing that, building new schools, changing school boundaries, that sort of thing. So I just wonder, you know, how do we communicate our growth goals to the province and make sure that they are aware this is coming and it's coming fast?
So, Madam Chair, if I may, Winnie, I'm sure may want to speak to this too, but you know, certainly, you know, the relationship with the province is strong. You know, between the partnership, between, you know, Wendy and her counterparts at the provincial government, my office, my CAO, this variety of deputy ministers. More recently, we convened jointly a meeting of key deputy ministers to brief them on the plan and to get their feedback. This is the draft plan, but it didn't substantially change after that. There's total alignment between the province and HRM and the partnership on the plan that you see before you today. They've certainly been endorsed and agreed by those deputies that, you know, this is the right direction. And they understand that clearly there are always going to be issues. There is a division of responsibility between the province and HRM. The province is responsible for schools. They're responsible for the justice system. They're responsible for some environmental regulations and things like that. But at the end of the day, we have to work together because as Nova Scotia goes, it's going to be led by HRM. HRM is going to drive the future of Nova Scotia. There's no doubt. We have some wonderful communities across Nova Scotia, but HRM is the largest economic region in Nova Scotia and will always be that way because most of the economic activity is happening here, and the province understands that. More recently, Deputy Minister Scott Farmer agreed to fill the seat that was vacant for a number of years. That was reserved for the province. So he has joined the board now, and that's encouraging. So there's a direct link at the board level to the province. And we also have, as I say, Wendy has her meetings with a variety of deputies, so do I. Sometimes they're joint meetings. We try to make sure that we communicate our aspirations. And, we're very interdependent, right? The province, Halifax Partnership, HRM, we're very interdependent. When you look at the province, there's a number of departments there that have a direct link to HRM and direct relationships, whether it's public works in terms of infrastructure investments, whether it's municipal affairs in terms of some of the regulatory changes that we need to make HRM a more effective organization. So they hold the cards in terms of regulatory reform. The new government, frankly, has brought in changes almost immediately upon taking office that we've been pushing for a long time. Like inclusionary zoning, for example. And they're considering more, right? They have a list, and we're seeing great response from the province, and in terms of some of our regulatory things that we need to see happen in order to make some of these things happen more efficiently, right? And of course, then we have the federal government too, and of course, COA Chuck is part of our board, and we have a great relationship with the federal government. The federal government is active in many areas of this plan, including housing and transit and those kinds of things. And all that can only happen if there's a strong relationship between all orders of government and on the plan, right?
No, that's good to hear. That's quite comforting. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may, and thank you, Councillor Blackburn and Jacques, for your comprehensive answer. I will add, in terms of setting stretch growth goals, our goal to grow Halifax's population to 650,000 persons is in line on the trajectory to the provincial goal and the goal that the Premier has put out of 2 million. Population of 2 million by 2060. So as they continue to align under that new growth provincial goal, that we are perfectly set up now to work with them towards the broader provincial growth goal. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Blackburn. Thank you, Wendy and Jacques. And Councillor Cuddle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to echo some of the things that Councillor Alhit was saying, just around, the growth for growth's sake, and that's not what this is. That's not what this is about. And I think when we do release this information, the communication strategy around it really needs to focus and highlight on this idea of being inclusive and bringing people along with the growth, because the sentiment out there in the community is they're not seeing, they're seeing traffic congestion, they're seeing increased housing costs, they're seeing, and even though it is all in COVID, happening in COVID, the last couple of years, I think people are a bit baffled about what's happening, but also there's a bit of apprehension too. And so even when we the whole Stats Canada census data release that happened, it was like, celebrate, we're growing. What wasn't received so hotly from the community side. And I know as city managers, you know, that's like, you know, a pretty interesting, you know, kind of key performance indicators, like how are we doing as municipal? We're growing, that's good. But again, if people don't see themselves in that growth, it's concerning. And so even, you know, even around, you know, the word celebrate, like maybe it's about like, you know, we're kind of taking like we're under construction, we're going through growing pains, but our focus is on you and really putting that message like front and center, because there are going to be growing pains in doing this. There is change. I mean, change, you know, and it's like one of those things is planning, like change is the only constant. It's our power to direct that change in a way that reflects the core values of who we are as Nova Scotians and Haligonians. That I think is an important message in all of this. And that's why, you know, I'm really excited to see how inclusive this was, you know, looking at our Indigenous partners, looking at our newcomer communities. I know we talked about Indigenous communities, we talked about African Nova Scotian communities. I think also looking at our newcomer communities might be highlighted a little bit more in that, even because they're trying to find their place in our city. So yeah, anyway, you know, overall, like great work, and I agree, feels like the right direction, and it's going to be a lot of work for all of us to pull together to really make this happen and realize it in the way in which it can be realized. So I look forward to going on that journey with you and with everyone here. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cuddle. Jacques, did you have your hand up? Did you want to respond to that?
No, look, I just appreciate the comments. You know, certainly, you know, on the housing piece, you know, we have a big plan around housing, and it's going to take all orders of government to support that. You know, if you look at some of the things we're going to do on housing, we're developing a housing strategy that outlines the HRM's role in housing and identifies immediate regulatory reforms that grow the supply of market housing. All orders of government are looking at that. You know, the housing task force was created. You know, we're looking at delivery of shelter, supportive housing, subsidized housing, long-term care for seniors, you know, municipal housing, looking at the possibility of a municipal housing corporation or some kind of community land trust to create affordable housing in Halifax, and then looking at, you know, various things around municipal provincial policy changes to encourage housing affordability and first-time housing ownership. And of course, we're looking at developing a public dashboard that tracks housing supply and key performance indicators. And you know, certainly, you know, we're looking at our internal processes through the work of Kelly Denty and her shop, and you know, working with Halifax partnership, the private sector and municipality to recommend policy changes to accelerate the supply of housing. I know the mayor has actively been involved in national discussions on that through the Big City Mayors group that he chairs, and FCM, and of course, you know, the Big City Managers groups I'm part of. Nationally is working on advising the federal government on certain measures, and have been now for several months. So this is an all hands on deck kind of an approach. I will say on housing, you know, the economy, there's not one level of government or any combination of orders of government that can fix the macro economic forces that are at play here. You know, as you grow population, you know, the prices will always go up, right? But what we need to do collectively is try to increase the supply side. And you know, not one order of government can do that. Not one private sector company can do that. So it's going to take a number of inputs around housing to try to increase supply, so we will slow down the price increases. Prices will always go up in housing, there's no question, and it's very complex, as you all know. You know, in terms of labor availability, trades, those kinds of things, financing, business plans associated with companies, right? Their own capacity to borrow and to actually deliver on projects. We have, as you all know as well, we have tens of thousands of approvals already in the hopper. We have building permits ready to be issued if they come in and apply for them. But at the end of the day, somehow, some way, we got to try to work better together as all the sectors and all of the orders of government together to see whether we can accelerate some of this work. And I think we're going down the right track. And I'm encouraged by some of the signals that the federal government is sending. Encouraged that this task force has been created provincially, looking at some of these issues, and that work is well underway. But we have to look at housing from, to your point, absolutely, from an inclusionary perspective, right from shelter capacity to supportive housing units. The work that council has done in terms of rapid housing, creation of our modular units in Dartmouth and soon to be in Halifax. We have to look across all the spectrums, to your point, and look at all the various housing opportunities that are there and try to accelerate them all to move forward, right, as we go along. And the last point I will make is that, homelessness is a thing everywhere in the world, and every city has issues around homelessness. We just need to try to work to help those that are most at risk and most vulnerable, and try to give them opportunity. And that's why we're moving along the road of these modular units. That's why we're bringing forward files to council in terms of the rapid housing initiative. We're trying to make sure that those who are challenged or housing challenged have opportunities as well. So there's a multi-pronged approach to this in the plan as you've seen, and we're looking forward to working with council and all of the partners to make it happen.
Thank you. All right, colleagues, are we ready for the vote? Does anyone else have anything to add?
Call for the question.
All right, all in favor? Okay, excellent. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? No. All right, excellent. Congratulations. That was wonderful.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Jacques. Thank you, Corey. Excellent work.
Chair and team, have a wonderful day. And we look forward to continuing to work so closely to bring this to life.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, we are moving right along. Members of Standing Committee, none. Community Design Advisory Committee, none. Heritage Advisory Committee, none. Motions, 13.1, Councillor Blackburn, formalizing relationship between HRM and Everyone Every Day, Kipukchuk, Halifax.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I'll put the motion on the floor. I think it's the same that's, actually, no, it's slightly amended from the one on the agenda. I'll move that the Community Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee recommend that Regional Council direct the Chief Administrative Officer to prepare a staff report with recommendations on formalizing the relationship between Halifax Regional Municipality and Everyone Every Day Kipukchuk, Halifax, with the intent to, 1, embed the collaborative work of reconciliation in the Halifax Regional Municipality business units. 2, center reconciliation in the design and development of civic and social infrastructure. 3, enable Halifax Regional Municipality to participate in more localized and circular economies throughout participatory city platform. And 4, facilitate joint action around the advancement of truth and reconciliation and strengthen participation of all residents in inclusive civic development and growth. I so move.
Second.
Thank you very much, Councillor Schmidt. So, so this is just a follow-up to the presentation we had, I think, back just before Christmas or just after Christmas, and definitely wanted to move this forward to get more information on, how we can better bake in reconciliation with everything that we do. I think that this Everyone Every Day Kipukchuk, Halifax can definitely help guide us in our work towards reconciliation, and just wanted to get some more information about how this project and program can better serve our Indigenous and First Nations folks in HRM, and really to the benefit of all residents. So I ask for your support to move this on to Regional Council for a report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks. Councillor Smith, go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. And really, really quickly, just to echo what Councillor Blackburn has said, I think it's very important for us to not only endorse it, but continue to be a partner in this work, because it's had an effect already in not just the neighborhood I represent, but all over HRM and broader. And we continue, and as we see just recently that we're adopting a land acknowledgement in the beginning of our meetings, it needs to be more than just acknowledging through statements, and it needs to be also acknowledging through the work. And I think collaborating with this organization here and this project only solidifies what our role as HRM is to support reconciliation in reconciliation. So happy to see this come forward. Sad I had to leave for FCM and miss the presentation, but happy to be able to second it. And thank you, Councillor Blackburn, for bringing it forward.
Thanks, Councillor Smith. Go ahead, Councillor Cuddle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just want to say thank you to Councillor Blackburn as well for bringing this forward. I think it's absolutely amazing how far we've come in the last 20 years in terms of working and engaging with our Indigenous communities. And, 20 years ago, I was working with Indigenous communities, and, just trying to be heard was a challenge. So to be at this point where we're, looking at trying to figure out how we formalize and embed these relationships in the everyday work that we do, I think is a significant step forward. And I just want to acknowledge the people who never gave up faith in trying to get to this point. We can be very excited here right now, saying that, yes, we support this motion and we're going to bring it forward and we're going to do this work, but it's been on the backs of a tremendous amount of work of people who just never gave up through all kinds of hardship and all kinds of challenges. And, so when I see this, I just want to recognize all that work over all this time. And I also just want to say that I'm really excited to see what this could look like as a manifestation in our, when I seen the design and development of our civic and social infrastructure, like actually how that manifests itself. I remember years ago, like in the 90s, I was in New Zealand, and when you walked around Auckland or you went anywhere in New Zealand, the Maori culture was always present. It was always there, whether it was the emblems in the benches or in the signage or the plaques or the, like there was always, you never really had an opportunity to forget where you were. And we haven't done that here. We don't have that physical acknowledgement that we are Mi'kmaq. And I am really excited to see what opportunities come forward through this work and what the potential is for us to do a much better job in that recognition. So thank you, Councillor Blackburn, for putting this on the table, and it has my full support.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Cuddle. Do we have anyone else who wants to speak?
Question?
Madam Chair, if I could just wrap up.
Absolutely.
I thank you all so much for the support. It's it's so important as we grow a new Halifax, we make sure that we all grow together. And I appreciate the kind words. I cannot take credit for this. Former CPED member, Deputy Mayor Pam Lovelace, was she drafted this motion, and I'm just bringing it forward. This is sort of her last her parting gift to CPED. So thank you to the Deputy Mayor for this.
All right, thank you. Shall we call for the question? Yes, thank you, Councillor Effett. All right, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Excellent. Very good. All right, thank you, everyone. We are moving on to item 14.1, in-camera minutes from January 20th, 2022.
I'll move them.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. All right, that is moved. And we are going to move on to item 15, added items. Simon, just to confirm, are we doing the public participation first before the
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Chair. Yes, we did change that during the order of business, so we can proceed to public participation now, and then following that, the added item.
Excellent, thank you. So we have one registered speaker for today's meeting, David Clark, Pond's representative. Welcome, David.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Madam Chair. Before the presentation from Hans, I just wanted to show our support as a hotel company. My hotel company has 8 properties here in HRM, and we are going to be in support of the presentation, of course, and all of our members, as we had meetings, are in support. You know, to have this ask in volatile times such as COVID, it's a little bit scary, but we know that the future of our industry is so important to HRM and Halifax and Nova Scotia. And for those people who don't know, tourism in HRM represents about 50% of the total tourism dollars in our province. So that's how important it is. We also want to throw our support out to Discover Halifax. Ross and his team has fantastic vision for our city and the municipality. And you can see that. I think most of you have seen the integrated tourism master plan in the last few months, and there's just some great vision of what this will look like in the coming years. We've been working with HRM staff as Megan, our new president of Hotel Association Nova Scotia, and it's been a very good relationship, and we're looking forward to having HRM and council as our partners, and yeah, that's us throwing our support. I'm the past president of the Hotel Association in Nova Scotia, and I've been on this file for many years. I was actually around when the marketing levy was introduced back in 2001. I've been working in hotels here since 1988, so it's been a while. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clark. Excellent. And so now we are moving on to item 15.1, Hotel Association of Nova Scotia proposal, tourism marketing and event leadership for HRM. And we have another presentation, and we have Elizabeth Taylor, Manager for Culture and Events, and Megan Delaney, President of the Hotel Association of Nova Scotia. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. I'll just wait for the presentation to be loaded. Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee, and my colleagues at HRM. My name is Elizabeth Taylor, and I'm here to present to you on the funding request from the Hotel Association of Nova Scotia to support tourism and event leadership in the region. This morning, I'm joined by Megan Delaney, current president of the Hotel Association of Nova Scotia. Ms. Delaney and her colleagues at HANDS, and I'll use that acronym throughout the presentation, and Discover Halifax have worked tirelessly over the past 5 years to support staff's development of a proactive, aligned, and resourced approach to major events, attraction, staging, and legacy to envision what is the most effective and efficient service model for delivery. Next slide, please. This slide highlights the history of when the municipality received the authority to enact a municipal tourism marketing levy bylaw, the establishment of bylaw H400, its increase from 1.5 to 2%, and the current MOU between, and that's a memorandum of understanding between HANDS and HRM. The MOU also dealt with the creation of a destination marketing organization, the DMO, that was intended to incorporate the mandates of the budgets of the Greater Halifax Meetings and Convention Bureau and the marketing component of HRM's tourism, culture, and heritage. The MOU provided for a distribution of 2/3 of the marketing levy to the DMO and 1/3 of the levy to the HRM Special Events Reserve to fund special events. Next slide, please. This slide notes the municipal role in support of major hosting events as funder, the development of the 2010 HRM Major Events Hosting Strategy and its implementation. In meetings starting in 2016 and through 2017, staff led a collaborative process with the goal to establish a foundation on which industry stakeholders could build a focused approach to event attraction and hosting. The discussions were both collaborative and constructive despite the complexity of issues. In 2019, the municipality undertook an analysis of the current state of bidding and hosting through the Canadian Sports Tourism Association, the acronym which is on your screen at the bottom. Another acronym, the StatPro, is an in-depth analysis typically conducted by a city in advance of developing or revising an event strategy so that there is a consistent way to assess the information and the current performance of sports and cultural tourism programs. The final report was submitted to staff in July 2019. In the fall, staff began to review the recommendations in detail. However, with the onset of COVID-19, staff and industry stakeholders have turned their and our focus to assessing the impacts of COVID-19 on tourism and event tourism and developing an events and programming recovery plan. Short-term outcomes of the plan, of course, include, as you approved last year, the COVID recovery grant program and the creation of 2 11-week summer festivals, which became a great draw in Dartmouth and Grand Parade. In early 2021, as Council endorsed the Halifax Regional Integrated Tourism Master Plan, the executive of HANDS initiated a return to negotiations with HRM on the MOU. Over the past months, productive discussions continued, and the agreement was finalized on December 20th, 2021. Next slide, please. As Mr. Clark mentioned, in late February 2017, executive members of HANDS appeared before this committee and gave a presentation entitled Economic Growth Through Partnerships. That followed on March 1st with a letter from Mr. Clark, the president at that time of HANDS, and it detailed the request for increased funding, which you have on your screen. Next slide, please. I will now turn over the presentation to Ms. Delaney, who will provide an insight into HANDS' position on our very important partnership.
Hello, thank you, Elizabeth, Madam Chair Purdy, Vice Chair Cuddle, Mayor Savage, and CPED members. Thank you for having me today. My name is Megan Delaney, and I am the current president of the Hotel Association of Nova Scotia. HANDS, which is our acronym, has been leading the initiative of increasing the marketing levy from 2% to 3% since 2016. We believe with a larger budget, there is opportunity for our DMO, Discover Halifax, to directly increase tourism, including revenue in HRM. Today, I'm here to show you why an increase to the marketing levy is necessary and why now is the optimal time. On the current slide, please note who our DMO would consider our direct competition. Our competitors are identified by population and size of the destination. Next slide, please. Now that we have identified our competitors, it is important to note our budgets. Discover Halifax is marketing significantly less than our peer group. There is currently no investment in festivals, events, and sports or travel trade. Elizabeth has more details on a further slide in regards to the increase for funding and specific areas of investment. Next slide, please. The current graph shows the total budget Discover has per year. Discover Halifax. It is important to note that New Brunswick introduced a 3.5% hotel tax, and Ontario has introduced a 4% hotel tax for Toronto, Ottawa, Brockville, North Bay, and Huntsville. Through the pandemic, it has become evident and very obvious to Canadians that Halifax is a great place to live. Now is the time we take the opportunity to let Canadians know how great Halifax is also to visit. It is important to note that Halifax has a large geographical area, and more marketing dollars means Discover Halifax can market to more areas of HRM, like the Eastern Shore and Peggy's Cove. Next slide, please. In summary, Halifax must evolve and invest in our DMO to be competitive with the other destinations throughout Canada. As you can see from the top 5 organizational functions of DMOs, we are already behind. The Hotel Association believes in both Halifax and Discover Halifax and what can be done if we work together. Tourism is worth investing in. Back to you, Elizabeth, and thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Your passion and commitment to the industry is so appreciated. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. As you will see from this slide, HANDS, in consultation with Discover Halifax, have identified 4 key investment areas for new and increased programming. Oh, I'm sorry, I think this is, oh no, that's correct. Through a phased approach and dependent on available funding, a portion of the funding is proposed to be dispersed to core programs, some already operational, such as destination sales and marketing, to which the largest investment will be expended, while other programs are new and will be developed in addition to the current sales and attraction activities, such as establishing an events office, coordinating an updated event strategy, and the development of a conference incentive program. Next slide, please. The proposed municipal funding framework. The current supplementary grant to Discover Halifax is $393,000. This includes a grant of $6,400 to Destination Eastern Northumberland Shores Tourism Association. Through the introduction of the Regional Integrated Tourism Master Plan, an increase to the annual supplementary grant to DH of $250,000 was approved in the 2021 final municipal budget. These funds were meant as a starting point to increase annual support to DH and to begin to bring funding to levels of similar organizations in other cities to support an emerging role for Discover Halifax in destination marketing, as well as to support recovery from the impacts of COVID. So in order to deliver on HRM's commitment to match funds equal to the increase in the levy of $1.5 million, staff are proposing that an incremental increase to the supplementary grant of $250,000 per year from general revenues is approved for a total of 4 years. For the remaining funds, staff propose the amount, when approved, are from funds collected from the marketing levy on short-term rental accommodations, which are non-hotel sources. Next slide, please. This slide is a schedule as shown on your screen of the payments that staff are proposing. And of course, this is always subject to annual budgetary approval by HRM Council and in accordance with the charter. Next slide, please. This is now the time to recover, to rebuild, to evolve. With the devastating impact of COVID-19 on the hotel industry and on Discover Halifax with the reduction in the marketing levy funds and the funding of special events, approval of the funding plan is critical to tourism recovery in the region, as Ms. Delaney and Mr. Clark mentioned, and this is a mechanism to enable municipal support to this valued industry. Therefore, should no approval for either of the requests of the province of Nova Scotia be approved, or for whatever reason, to increase the marketing levy or permit HRM to collect the levy on accommodations with fewer than 20 rooms, staff are recommending that Regional Council approve a contribution to Discover Halifax as per recommendation 2 of this report. Next slide, please. In closing, you have before you your recommendation. I extend my thanks to my colleagues in Parks and Recreation, Discover Halifax, and Hotel Association of Nova Scotia, and we are available to answer any questions you may have, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Do we have any speakers, any questions? Someone? Yes, go ahead, Councillor Kettle.
Would you like me to put the motion on the floor?
Yes, please. Thank you.
It's a long one. Okay. I move that the Community Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee recommend that Regional Council, 1, authorize the Chief Administrative Officer to execute a non-binding memorandum of understanding with the Hotel Association of Nova Scotia, a society formed under the Societies Act, substantially in the form provided in Attachment 1 of the January 20th, 2021 report. 2, suspend the rules of procedure under Schedule 2, the Audit and Finance Standing Committee terms of reference for Administrative Order 1, the procedures of the Council Administrative Order, and include funding for Discover Halifax to support the delivery of enhanced destination marketing and management programs as part of the municipality's 2022-23 budget planning process for consideration during the budget adjustment list debate in March 2022, with a cumulative contribution to be phased over 3 years as follows: $250,000 in fiscal 22-23 budget, $250,000 in fiscal 23-24 budget, and $250,000 in fiscal 24-25 budget. Subject to amendments by the Province of Nova Scotia to the Halifax Regional Municipality Marketing Levy Act, respecting the cap on the marketing levy and the extension of the marketing levy to operations of less than 20 rooms or rental units, directed by the Chief Administrative Officer to initiate the process to amend bylaw H400 to implement the amendments to the HRMMLA as necessary. And 4, authorize the Chief Administrative Officer or his designate to negotiate and execute a service level agreement on behalf of the municipality with Discover Halifax, including the terms and conditions set out in Table 2 of the discussion section of the January 20th, 2021 report, and otherwise acceptable to the Chief Administrative Officer.
Second.
Awesome.
Thank you. Just have to take a minute to recover from all that talking. Hi, Elizabeth. Nice to see you again. I guess the main main question here is about the cumulative contribution. So, well, we kind of see it laid out in 250 in fiscal 22, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25. Are we saying that by 24, 25, it would be, we're looking for a contribution of $750,000?
24, 25. We would hope to reach $1 million with the cumulative starting in 2021 and moving ahead to 24 as the presentation stated. Yes.
So what would, just for clarity, so what would the 20, by the time we get to 24, 25, what is the whole contribution that is being looked for from council to Discover Halifax?
Well, we have here, we'll continue to monitor the actual final amount because we're not quite sure what the short-term levy will yield, nor are we really sure what the hotel levy will yield. So in 4 years, we'll be monitoring the actual levy amounts, but our proposal is that by 24, 25, we would be putting together 1.393 million. And Maggie McDonald, if you want to weigh in on that, if I am misspeaking, please let me. Thank you. Here you are.
No, I think that's exactly right. The contribution from council from HRM in terms of the general revenue piece would be 1,393,000, as noted in the financial implications section. And then to Elizabeth's point, we're recommending a change in the way the marketing levy is split and that would be something that we would monitor on an ongoing basis.
Right. Okay. Now the split would be, when you say the split, is that the contribution? I'm sorry, we just got this report really late and I wasn't able to read through it in detail and figure out all the math here.
Yep.
So Maggie, when you say the split, what are you talking about? Contribution split?
So currently the hotel levy is split at a rate of 60% going to Discover Halifax and 40% to support events. What the premise of the Hands proposal was that the increase in the levy, which was at that original point anticipated to yield an additional $1.5 million in levy funding, the premise was that increase be matched by HRM. So the way we sort of arrived to the HRM portion was an increase from general revenues plus the increase associated with the short-term rental piece, rather than trying to apply one split, the 60-40 split to the hotel portion of the levy and a different split or 100%, forward 100%, for example, of the short-term, the levy on short-term accommodations. What we suggested was let's amend the split of the levy to 65-35 to get to roughly the same amount in the end. So the principle is that we're looking to do a rough matching of that $1.5 million associated with an increase of the levy from 2 to 3%. So it's a little complicated, but the principle is that we're looking to match, and the two components really are that general revenue piece and what we anticipate would be the increase associated with adding short-term rentals to the hotel levy.
All right, so I think the concept of looking to match is really important. It shows that, one, I think it's amazing that the Hotel Association has such confidence in Discover Halifax. If that organization has come so far in the last, I don't know, well, since Ross kind of, took over leadership, done such a tremendous amount of work. And so to hear that, that level of confidence, in this organization is really great, and I think I better understand the matching portion here, and I also just want to say for Discover Halifax that the level of strategic thinking that is happening there, not just downtown, but really understanding our region as a whole and all that it has to offer, and like moving from just kind of marketing and promotion to looking at events, and I think even more exciting, kind of this destination development in helping communities really capitalize on their economic development potential in a coordinated way is you know, as a planner, is something I love to see, you know, that level of strategy and coordination happening. So thank you for the presentation and the information, and I'm gonna go read the financial implications again. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cuddle. And I just want to say I've had my 5-minute timer for each speaker today, and I have forgotten to turn it on every single time. So my apologies for that. Learning. So Simon.
Start now for Lindell.
That's right, Lindell. I know, I might as well. We'll start fresh next month. That's fine. But anyway, do we need to make a motion to extend past noon? I know that's been done before other meetings or.
Yeah, if there's likely to be a fair bit of discussion on this item, I think that might be advisable to table a motion just to extend for 30 minutes or so.
All right, would someone like to put that on the floor? Thank you, Councillor Austin. Seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you, Wendell, since you are next.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, it's Tim, just quickly. I have a Bedford Days meeting at noon, so I am going to have to bail out at noon. I'll make my comments before then, but if I do disappear, my apologies.
Absolutely. Okay, yes. Wonderful.
What's quorum? Because I got something at noon too.
3. Okay, let's go fast then.
Okay, all right, go. And I'm mine super fast. So I didn't get a chance to read the report, and I actually couldn't find it in my email. So maybe it might have got lost somewhere. But my question was around the numbers, and Councillor Carter already talked about the number piece and got some clarity. So I won't do that again. What I am wondering from Discover Halifax's end, if anyone could speak to it, I want to get a better understanding of the current money that's being spent for marketing and the outcome that they're receiving now. So what are and maybe that's in the report, maybe the data is in the report, but I'm just trying to get a better understanding of, okay, what the money that's being spent now, even though, as mentioned, it's not in par with other places in the country, what has been the outcome of what we've been able to do with the money that's currently being spent on marketing to gather, I guess, get people to come here. So I'm just wondering, oh gosh, if there's any information there.
I could give a quick comment, Elizabeth, if that is okay. So Megan Delaney here from the Hotel Association of Nova Scotia. So I am fortunate to work very closely with Ross and Discover Halifax. I'm actually a member of the board. And I can just give you an example, Councillor Smith. This past year, there was a pilot project. So there was a gap in marketing that was shown in the recovery of COVID-19. And Discover Halifax decided to step up to the plate and advertise in typically air market. Typically it's just rubber tire market that we call it in our industry that they would advertise to. So it was a reconnections campaign that was advertised primarily in Ontario and Alberta. And the results did come in from that. And the results, for example, in Alberta, to the website visitation for Discover Halifax was up 713%. So what we are looking for with Discover Halifax is to be proactive and to be able to have the funds and the resources to be able to take Discover Halifax and Halifax to its full potential.
Right, and I guess with that 700% increase, you also want to turn that into, I guess, sales or whatever that might be. It's great when people visit the website, but if they're not actually going on to the Marriott's or the I shouldn't just use one, going on to the multiple hotels that are in HRM and actually booking rooms or booking trips or whatnot, or booking tours, it's only a visit. So I think, yeah, it's important that look at how do you translate those visits to actual people coming here and using our services. So good. I'll read the report, and if I have any questions, I'll just reach out.
Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Smith. Go ahead, Councillor Ifit.
Thank you. I haven't read the report either, so thank you for the presentation. And I'm going to ask a couple of questions, and they're just I'm going to ask both sides of a question. So, and maybe we'll start with Elizabeth here, although Maggie, you may need to jump in with this as well, or Megan. So, have you looked at the competitiveness? Are you worried at all with competition for tourism dollars, if you will, and hotel dollars? PEI, New Brunswick, Newfoundland, if you increase the tax. So that's issue number one. The flip side of that is, did you look at increasing it to 4% from 3% to A, give you more money to use, and B, take the pressure off what HRM is being asked to do at a time when we're looking at the largest tax increase that we've had during my entire 14 years on council to begin with. So, you know, have you done an analysis over the elasticity, if you will, around the 3%? Did you consider 4%? And I know one of the reasons this came forward before, one of the reasons why we delayed it, I think, was when there was talk about adding the cost of the stadium perhaps to this charge as well, and to rental cars, et cetera, potential football stadium. And the other question, and this one I think would be for Maggie, the mayor brought forward a BAL item yesterday for $250K. And is this the same thing? So is this, in other words, is this motion still needed? Because I thought we already put it on, unless I'm misinterpreting what the mayor brought forward yesterday, because I thought the mayor might have brought that through as well. So 3% versus 4% and the 250K, please.
Sure, this is Megan here from the Hotel Association, and the Hotel Association and our partners at HRM, we have discussed taking up the marketing levy to a higher level than 3%. But the viewpoint we are taking it from is when we're asking for the legislation from the province, we would like the wording to state such that it is open that we could increase it up again in the future. As well as we are looking at a combined tax model. So we're not just looking at marketing levy versus marketing levy, we're working at tax versus tax. And in our current environment, we believe that doing this in an incremental fashion from going from 2 to 3 would be the best way to have consumer confidence in regards to what we're doing.
Okay, that makes sense. Maybe Maggie, about the 250K that the mayor put in yesterday, I guess it was, it seems longer.
Yes, so that's correct. It's the same amount of money. I think we still need this. So the motion speaks to a lot of other things, sure, other than just the BAL money. So I think we still need this to advance. The only risk is, of course, that as it proceeds to council, because we've got that separate motion that's already bringing it to the BAL, there's a risk there that they may conflict. But I think, subject to advice from the solicitor, I think that's something we could deal with at the time if that was to happen.
But adding it to the BAL approves it for this year. I guess you're still looking for approval then, Maggie, sort of going forward too. So I guess there's two-pronged approach here. If it has to go into the BAL every year, there's no guarantee it would be approved. If you accept it in the BAL this year and then accept this formula or this commitment, this MOU, then I guess it would be somewhat quote unquote guaranteed for subsequent years. We'd be committee future council. I guess that's the objective.
It would still be built. Yes, it would be built in. Council, of course, still always has the discretion in the budget to change it. But yes, that's correct. That gives sort of direction for future years.
All right. Well, I will be supporting this, and thank you for the. I didn't hear about. I guess I heard from Megan that you debated both 3 and 4, and you're looking for the flexibility from the legislation to perhaps increase it incrementally. But you must have done a little bit of. Scan of are you worried about competition? Because hotels in Halifax are more expensive already than they are in some other places in the province and the Maritimes and whatnot. But you're not worried then about any sort of competitive issues with PEI, New Brunswick, Newfoundland, etc. When somebody comes down, what's it going to cost to spend a night here versus a night somewhere else, or 2, or hopefully a week?
The jurisdictional scan certainly suggests there are our competitor jurisdictions, by and large, not 100%, but many of them have already made this move.
Okay. I haven't seen a report, so excuse that. I probably would have seen that. Thank you very much, and I certainly will be supporting this. Cheers.
All right, thank you. I don't see any more speakers on the list, so are we ready for the question?
Question.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. All right, motion passed. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Maggie and Megan. Thank you very much. All right, we have a notice of motion. Councillor Cuttle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Take notice that at the next regular Community Planning and Economic Development meeting to be held on Thursday, the 17th of February, 2022, I propose to request a staff report on the process and feasibility of removing the 5% parkland dedication for the first 3 lots subdivided from any parcel of land in existence on June 16th, 2007, and instead require a 10% for all parkland dedication.
All right, thank you. Moving on to the date of our next meeting, which will be March 17th, 2022. And we are adjourned if someone wants to.
I'll move it.
Move the adjournment. Excellent, thank you.
You're right on the button, Ms. Chair. 12 o'clock on the dot.
Well done, folks. We did it. Okay, well, have a great day, rest of your day. Thank you so much. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, everyone who presented.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Simon, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Have a great month.